Welcome back. This is a relatively long video, and for the majority of this video, it's going to be pretty boring, just mainly flying. I'm going to drop some bombs on a base, try to get some points, because I'm having a pretty hard time grinding the United States air tree. I'm in a squadron trying to get my uh, A4E early, but in the meantime, I don't really have anything that's good at uh, making points. So I'm using this plane to try to hit some either ground targets or hit some bases. And so yeah, most of this video is going to be slow and boring, but I do manage to get a kill at the very end, and it is ever so satisfying because I actually was already dead when I got the kill. So starting out, we are flying the F-86. Now, when it is equipped with bombs and rockets, it is extremely slow. Now, whenever I'm flying the MiG and I'm fighting somebody in America, the F-80 whatever, they generally are always faster than me, and I just don't know how that's possible because anytime I'm flying one of these American planes, it's the slowest garbage I've ever flown. Hopefully, I can actually unlock something relatively decent in the American line, but I don't think there's anything good until maybe the top of mid-tier, up to top tier jets for America. Now, I know that the F-104 can't churn for crap, but it is extremely fast, and having flown the MiG a good bit, I know that that thing could really take me out. So I'm hoping that maybe I can unlock one of the F-100 somethings, 104, maybe even the 105 if I want to do some ground pounding and be able to grind a little bit more from there, but it may just have to lean on the A4E to get me through the American tree. So I do manage to drop bombs. Now, normally I will have to drop 2 sets of bombs, so 4 bombs in total, and at least a full plane of rockets in order to clear a base, which is really unfortunate because the rockets add so much drag, so much unnecessary drag. It's not because they're rockets, just because that's what little bit of explosive I need in order to clear a base. But generally that means that I'm gonna have to carry the rockets twice in order to clear. So by that time I'm extremely slow and everybody's gained speed. And I don't think there's a single easy target that I can fight against except maybe the vampire or the venom. Those are about the only targets I have a real decent fight against. Now, if I don't have bombs and I don't have rockets, I am generally a much faster plane than with them. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm a better plane than really anything that I can fight against. But the only reason that I'm really have any effectiveness against the venom or the vampire is because they are extremely slow. Now, with jets, you don't want to be slow, obviously, but the other thing with going really fast is your bullets curve. So any churning that happens, you have to really compensate and shoot even farther ahead because your bullets are curving. Now, the other thing with the vampires and the venom that I was about to say is that they can churn extremely well, and that's simply because they're going so slow. These American planes are generally more or less bricks, and they don't have a real good direction advantage. Like, if you have a MiG behind you and you happen to be faster, but you're a slightly lower energy, or really in any situation where you're trying to go vertical, you're probably going to lose. And a lot of times, you don't want to go vertical because you'll black out, and then somebody's just going to missile you because you're not prepared for that. And being blacked out, you can't turn to defend yourself in that situation. So a lot of times, if you're a missile user, try to get somebody to go straight vertical and then launch your missile, because you'll generally be able to hit them. Now, if they're in a head-on, for most missiles, I don't think that that's a great tactic. I know there's some that are really good at it, but I think the very early, what is it, the AIM-9B, I don't think they do very good in head-ons. So I'm going to go ahead and either decide to land this plane or not, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and land it. I'm pretty much here. I'm trying to bleed speed as fast as I can. It's funny because this plane loses speed really easily when you don't want to. Oh, I think I broke the front gear because I was going slightly too fast. But yeah, when you're trying to land, this plane does not want to lose speed, and it's very frustrating to try to land. So my crew is pretty much maxed out on my pilot. I believe I have like half a tick of stamina left and half a tick of awareness left. And I don't think that maxing them out will generally contribute all that much more to how these planes feel when I'm flying them. So I am maxed out. There's no web on this plane, but I am maxed out trying to get this plane to move forward. Now, let me remind you, with rockets, it's even worse. So while I may be able to take off before the end of the runway, if I have rockets, I may have to do like I did in the last video, where I hold the brake and I let the engine get up to temperature before I take off, because this plane just isn't efficient when it's taking off. It has like no acceleration. And a lot of times that's what gets me killed when I'm flying around. And if I do the slightest turn, then I lose speed. And then if I lose speed, I don't have enough acceleration to gain that speed back. Now, don't get me wrong, this plane can be very fast, but it takes a really long time to do that. In Warthunder videos, or not Warthunder videos, in the Warthunder cards, the stat cards, I wish there was more descriptive or maybe more useful information on it, like how sharp an airplane can turn before you black out, what speed it's flying at a specific altitude that all planes are using. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, I think generally a good altitude would be 8,000 feet. What is the max speed at 8,000 feet per se? Or because I think that could encompass all planes. Now, obviously, some planes will do maybe a little bit better, a little bit higher, or a little bit better, a little bit lower. But I believe anywhere between 5,000 and 8,000 is it's probably generally a pretty average range where people are flying, especially if we're in some of these smaller maps. So I'm currently at 3,400 feet, and I'm going 145 knots. And I'd say I'm at about maybe 14 degrees. I still have 18 minutes of fuel. I've reached 4,000 feet. My speed has dropped considerably, and I'm at a steady 143 knots. So I'm going to go ahead and angle down closer to 10 degrees and try to gain a little bit of speed because, like we discussed before, if you're not going fast in a jet, you're dead. And one of the reasons that you consider dead is because a lot of people are flying premium planes that have missiles, and you can't out-churn a missile, which is pretty much your only way to defend yourself in low-tier jets because you don't have flares. And the only way to out-churn the missile is to have speed. So I'm taking my sweet time. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of people out. And I'm hoping to finish this base. It's the second base to the right, or on the right. So it's the right inner base. And it is almost half dead. So I know for a fact that my two 1,000-pound bombs are not going to finish it, which is very unfortunate. If it added a little bit of burn to the base, it might be able to finish it, but I don't think that it's going to do enough damage to allow it to burn the rest of the way. I'm now cruising at about 250 knots. I'm at 5,400 feet. I'm going ahead and drop a little bit of altitude in order to gain more speed as I'm still targeting the base. As I'm losing altitude about 4,100, I've gained speed in the 360 knots. And I'm probably going down at a, I don't know, maybe 12 degrees. The base is getting relatively close. I'd say I'd be there in about 6 seconds. So currently there is me and another teammate, and there are 5 people. The teammate says that he's critted 3 other planes, but that's not very relevant information because the 3 planes are already back at the base being healed. So as I pass over the base, I drop my 2 bombs, and like I predicted, without rockets, it was not enough damage to clear it. So I missed out on quite a bit of points for literally no reason. It was a very long and arduous task for like no gain. I think if I could redo the entire American tree again, I would get the P-63A5, and instead of grinding anywhere else in jets, I would probably just grind the bombers so that I could have a high tier plane that gets an air start and just try to bomb as soon as I can. When I fly Russia, I actually bought the BE-6 bomber, and I will dive until it's red, and I would pick up a little bit so I don't rip my wings off, but the pontoons rip off, and it scares me every time. So I'm gonna try to challenge a head-on with the MD 450 Bravo, but he goes ahead and veers off, not wanting to risk 50 cows to the face, which he would probably survive. So as he goes vertical in front of me, I do manage to get a couple critical shots, but being that these are just 50 cows, I don't do a whole lot of damage. He still has way more energy, and he's able to basically just do loops around me. Now, I think he wants me to try to get into a vertical loop with him, but I will most definitely stall out as I'm only going 280 knots. And as I do left loops around, I'm just constantly losing speed. You heard that I was just doing 280, well now I'm doing 237. So this plane just loses speed uh, just very quickly. So I do pull my flaps out to try to turn a little bit harder. That does hurt my speed a little bit, and I rip my flaps off. Now I'm pointed straight down at the ground, but I do manage to recover about 600 feet off the ground. Now there is a premium SU-11 heading towards me, and I'm going to try and challenge it in a head-on as I try very hard to angle towards it. Now I do get shot before I can shoot him, but the MD 450 Bravo passes under me as my tail is being ripped off, and I managed to shoot him out. That is amazing. I managed to get one plane kill in like 16 minutes of playtime. But yeah, so that's pretty much the end of the video, and I'm actually ecstatic in the chat. I was like, no way, that's awesome. And I'm sure he's mad, but he did get the kill on me, so it was technically a trade. Anyway, so I hope you guys have a good day.